The final chapter. Jason is back. He moves like a shadow, dark and silent.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 1984 horror sequel, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. The film is directed by Joseph Zito and it stars Eric Anderson, Julie Aronson, we have Peter Barton, Kimberly Beck, Corey Feldman, and Tom Everett. Right, okay. This takes place immediately after the events of the last movie. Jason is supposedly dead. He's got an axe in his head or a machete, whatever it was. And he is taken to the morgue, pronounced dead and taken to the morgue. However, this is Jason. He isn't dead, he's just resting. And he breaks out of the morgue, kills a couple of hospital workers in the process, and then heads back to where he loves to go, into the woods near Crystal Lake, and preying on some teens, which is what he does. Once again, in this film, no surprises there. Right, what are my thoughts on Friday the 13th, final chapter? Well, I've actually been quite looking forward to this one. When I do this when I get into like movies and movie franchises and stuff, and this is one of those horror franchises that I know very little about other made because I haven't seen hardly any of them. I kind of, I'll watch like videos on them on like timelines and like theories and all this kind of stuff, and this appears to come out as quite popular in the fandom. Finding the Friday the 13th final chapter as a pretty decent Jason film, and I tend to agree. I mean, there's a decent film here, albeit obviously shades and carbon copies of what we've seen before and what's yet to come. But it's a nicely put together film. It's got a little bit of a different feel about it. Jason's getting more and more, to that supernatural type of entity that, absolutely we see in the coming films. And I preferred I don't think it was the same actor this time around that played Jason. I preferred the portrayal of Jason in this one, even though he, he's still a bit nimble for my liking. But they tried to do something a little bit different here. You know what I mean? They've got Corey Feldman, this kid Tommy, who my understanding is not him, the actor, but the character of Tommy has got quite a significant impact on the franchise in the coming couple of films, I believe. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that kind of pans out. But yeah, he's got an interesting part here in this film, this Tommy. And he is basically a kid who loves, horror movies and special effects and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting idea to kind of go ahead here, and it's not just packed full of this film of teens just wanting to have sex. Well, no, what am I talking about? It is pretty much, but there's also a family as well at the core of this, and we've got a character called Rob who's in this film, who's essentially hunting Jason for a character that was killed in a previous film. I want to say the second one, but I might be wrong. And you get the impression he's going to have a significant part, not as big as you might think. So it kind of subverts expectations a little bit, but you kind of pretty easy to figure out who the final girl's going to be here in this film. And as always, we get the fun and inventive kills that are obviously now a staple of this franchise. They're easily the best part of the franchise here. And we get, for the first time, Jason sporting his hockey mask for the whole film now. That's become his, obviously, his trademark, the hockey mask. He gained it for the first time in the last film. And then he's obviously got it from now on, sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I do agree that this is one of the stronger that I've seen so far of the Friday the 13th films. I think it's nicely put together. It's nicely filmed. It's got fairly forgettable characters, barring a couple. But you show me one of these movies that hasn't really got forgettable characters, and generally speaking, they have. I mean, this was obviously an age of slasher films where, they were generally nameless and faceless, and you couldn't remember who they were, these people that you just wanted to see them getting, hacked and slashed. These days, audiences are a little bit more demanding, if you like, and they want a little bit more out of their slasher films, horror films. But it was still, I want to say, in its infancy, the slasher genre at this stage, and it was just carving its way through, I suppose, the Friday the 13th franchise. So yeah, I mean, there's some silly moments here and there, obviously, in the film. Why? I mean, there's one that stands out to me. There's a scene where Corey Feldman's character Tommy kind of shaves all his hair off and pretends to be Jason. How did he know? I mean, it's one of those things. You're not supposed to think about these things in these movies. They're not there to be thought about. But it did kind of jump out at me a little bit. Why he would do that, just to kind of get his attention. But how would you know anything about Jason really, other than myth and then spoilers, guys, a little bit here, and then he goes really psycho. And you get the impression he's going to be the next Jason, and in actual fact, he was, or the character was, because this was going to be the final chapter. As we know, obviously, it didn't turn out to be for Jason. But again, I haven't seen it, but my understanding is the next film, Jason's not even in it. So I would imagine that's not a particularly popular one. But the idea was they were going to move on and have, a different killer in the franchise going forward, and I think it was going to be Tommy, sort of thing. But that obviously didn't pan out because the fans demanded the return of Jason, which they got in part 6. Was it Jason Lives? God, I don't know. Hopefully by the end of watching all these, I'll have a little bit more of an understanding of the sequence and how it all kind of works. I'm still considering myself very much a rookie to the Friday the 13th franchise. So yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, what your thoughts are on this film. I'm interested to know your thoughts on the next one. Is it pretty bad? If so, I shall prepare myself accordingly when I get around to watching that one in the next day or two. So thanks for checking out this review, guys. Don't forget to call back on the channel for plenty more reviews and content.